So now I'm going to introduce two of the coolest lawyers in the NFT industry, Danielle and Steve. I want you to give them a warm welcome to the stage. They're awesome, and whatever you're doing, I think you'll need to know these guys. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. I'm Steve Masur, and two other people were supposed to do this with us, and one of them was the author of our panel. So now we get to be a little bit more free-form, and hopefully we'll get a chance to answer some questions. I'm Steve Masur. I'm a partner at MGA, which is a boutique law firm here in New York and LA that works in, does a lot of work in the crypto space. We're very focused on crypto, and we have a corporate practice in which we organize companies in basically any crypto-friendly jurisdiction. We also have an entertainment practice and an intellectual property practice, and as a result of that, we've done a lot of work in the NFT space. So we're excited to be here today, and I'm happy to tell you what we do and also answer any questions.
Thanks for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle Clark. I am from Miami, Florida. I used to live here in New York for 5 years, and I'm an NFT attorney. I started my own law practice in 2019, and around COVID time, just immersed myself within the space, and I initially started off my practice in intellectual property, trademark, copyright, and then since I grew a strong love for NFTs, I started taking on NFT clients, individuals and businesses who want to launch projects and who need legal guidance in order to limit their liability and in order to protect their intellectual property. In regards to tax, which is a question that a lot of NFT and crypto individuals ask us lawyers, I usually just refer that out because myself, tax is not an area that I enjoy. However, one question that a lot of people ask me is, why would I need an NFT lawyer? And the answer is, you want to make sure that you're limiting your liability. You have an entity formed so that your personal assets are separate from your project or business assets. And that doesn't only mean filing a document with whichever state that you choose. It also means having all of the proper internal documents required by law. And also, if you have partners, those internal documents should state, how much % each partner owns and how, if they want to add a new member and all of those other various terms that you wouldn't think of.
Right. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. How many people here are entrepreneurs? Okay, good. And how many people here are NFT owners? And how many people here would consider themselves to be traders of NFTs? Okay, so I just wanted to get a sense of who we're talking to, because there's pretty much an unlimited number of things that we could talk about. For entrepreneurs, a lot of what we just discussed is for entrepreneurs, because if you're really just trading on your own account, there isn't necessarily a need to form a corporate entity. And all of the issues related to securities laws, et cetera, are not really relevant to you as much as they would be to somebody who is starting a business and doing something that might look like a fractional interest. The way the SEC looks at it, and a lot of people think that the securities laws would not apply to NFTs, but unfortunately they do apply to NFTs. They apply to any asset or digital asset if it fits the definition. So a lot of opinion letters have been written trying to distinguish tokens and NFTs as something that does not fit the definition of a security. And I think a lot of the NFTs that we know and love today do not fit the definition of a security and would not be considered securities. Just because you can trade something doesn't mean that it's a security. It's a definition that has 4 prongs, and the 4 prongs, really the takeaway to think about is it something that you can sell fractional interests of and make money based on the work of others. That's really the prong to look at when you're thinking about whether an NFT project might be a security. And the only reason I'm bringing it up now is that I think the SEC's sort of cycle of investigation, if you go back to the ICO era, there was really a long time when the SEC's sort of party line was to say, we just want to let the market develop and then we're going to look into it. And their way of looking into it was to send a bunch of scary letters out. And really it kind of shut down the token sale market, especially in the US. And that really buoyed the NFT market because a lot of those traders went from trading coins into trading NFTs. Well, in the cycle of things, it's been a few years, and the SEC is sort of now looking at this. And that sort of crackdown is something that you might see coming. And when I say crackdown, the SEC doesn't have really a lot of employees, so it's not like they're going to do an industry-wide shut everyone down thing. And they didn't do that last time either. They just sort of cherry-pick the projects that look the most like something that would send a message to everyone else. So that's really the way you should think about it as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I would like to say that as an individual who's trading, buying, selling NFTs, hi, you made it.
Hey, how you doing? I'm sorry, everybody. I got sent to the wrong building. I did originally make it here on time. My name is Alice Washington III. I work with Washington Wells, Louisiana. I do a lot of municipal law, entertainment, etc. We can just keep moving forward.
Perfect. I'll just finish my thought. So yeah, as an individual, if you're flipping NFTs, if you're buying and selling them for profit, I do agree with Steve's statement that you don't necessarily need a legal entity. However, if you're doing this on a regular basis, I would say that you could form an LLC or a legal entity to protect yourself personally. If you're trading and flipping on a more regular basis. And also, I would like to add in that the SEC and different areas of the government actually are looking into NFT projects and also marketplaces such as OpenSea. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the employee that recently was sentenced to prison for insider trading. So yeah, there are areas where you do need to be careful in the NFT space, and that's why we're here for you.
You're definitely correct on that because I hear a lot of people that buy NFT and some of them sell and have different NFT projects. There's no real qualifications for what is an NFT project, and as it's going on, we know there are suits going on right now. The thing is, you need to get ahead of the curve. You need to begin to lobby. You need to get involved with your government because I understand everybody wants everything to stay decentralized. But the thing is, nothing's out of the government's reach. So what you do is you use their channels to align with what you want done because most times the government either is out for themselves or they don't know what they're doing. Or if you have a project and the wrong person is scarred, they're upset, you rugged, whatever you may do, if they're powerful enough, all of a sudden you have stringent regulations and now just the regular people can't make an NFT project no more because what did they do? They lobbied. Any one of y'all know more than your local governments, y'all know more. Why not work with them, build the type of regulations that you want, so therefore you're ahead of the curve when they start telling you what you can and cannot do?
Yeah, it's like, she mentioned OpenSea, and OpenSea obviously is a giant platform in the space, a place where a lot of people are trading, and it exerts a lot of market control in the space, and it attracts a lot of lawsuits, including potentially class action lawsuits for things that have happened with the NFTs. And this is the kind of thing that's going to cause the government to take a look at it. And if they start off taking a negative look at it, just as you were saying, exactly. That's not what you want. You want to say, look, we really know what NFTs are. We really know what this trade is, and really approach your local government as well as the federal government. The federal government is a lot more accessible than people think. I went to law school in Washington, D.C., and one of the reasons I did that is because you can literally, if you're a U.S. citizen, you can literally just go to any Senate hearing. I really took advantage of that. And when we talk about lobbying is really just talking to the government, and the government represents you. They're elected. They're under your control. And they really don't know what's going on. I've been an entertainment lawyer for many years. They didn't know what was going on with digital music. If they can't understand digital music, how are they going to understand the blockchain? They really don't know what's going on. They really need our help to tell them what's going on. So get involved.
And you've done this before. Didn't you have somebody that worked with Wyoming for their DAO?
Right. That's a really good example. Wyoming was quick to adopt DAO legislation, and actually we were talking about it on the phone today, and another lawyer sort of referred to their legislation as hacky. Well, it is hacky. It's early. Like everything we've just described is an early market. The SEC doesn't really know what to do. Wyoming doesn't really know what to do. So you have to start somewhere. And Wyoming went ahead and started with a DAO legislation. And the way that happened was that a bunch of crypto people just started showing up in Wyoming and explaining to them what was needed by the industry. And it was a pretty small group of people. One of them is Brittany Kaiser, somebody who is known for her whistleblower work with regard to Cambridge Analytica. And she's very involved in the crypto space. And she put together some people and went to Wyoming and started talking to a lobbyist in Wyoming who started engaging with the state representatives of Wyoming. And they voted these crypto laws in unanimously in Wyoming. So that tells you something. It's the first state to have done it. So state law, it could be legal in Wyoming and not legal federally. So that's a problem. And a lot of projects have gone offshore. We have a client that went offshore to the Marshall Islands, and very similarly, the Marshall Islands saw an opportunity here and adopted DAO legislation in the Marshall Islands. And our client was actually hired by the Marshall Islands to be the official company for onboarding DAOs in the Marshall Islands. So these are giant opportunities. It's very early, and for any entrepreneurs in the room, you should be looking at it that way. You could go to any country and essentially, get the same benefits.
Overall, we're essentially telling you to be the standard and don't wait for the standard to come for you. Because I assure you, you're going to have the same issues when the government gets involved with anything, which means everybody else can't get involved. The top 1% controls everything. If you don't like that, which is normally why most people are in Web3 outside of technology, then what do you need to do? Make up the rules before they do. Now, a lot of people, when they make these projects, try to help standardize them. Work with other projects and draw up a blueprint. Maybe even LLC some of your projects, a form of KYC, certify yourself, make your project a blue chip project that people can find. If they want to, they can sue. You shouldn't be concerned if you're doing what you need to do. And then when the government comes down, you can show them what to do because you've done it, instead of waiting for them to tell you what you did was wrong or was not. And that's why I'm telling everybody here, talk to an attorney, talk to your local governments, talk to whoever you got, and then send it up. And then you can get to the federal governments, because all these people are interconnected, and you can get to them, like you said, rather easily. All these people are really easy to get in contact with. You'd be really surprised how far up the ladder you can get with 2 or 3 phone calls by some people that's involved. But you got to get a movement behind you. And then once you're the expert in your particular area, when the next level of government needs an expert, who they come to? The person that's been pioneering the space for the last 10 years, or for NFTs the last 5 to 6. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, along with my panelists, is that regulation is more important than you believe, and just leaving things as basically a wild, wild west of sorts is only going to come back to hunt you in the end.
Yeah, and you should think of it as your house. We have this sort of us-them attitude about the government. It's not their government, it's your government. It's our house. So think about if the people who are in your house were not doing what you wanted, you do have control over that, and you can say something about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on IP as well within these NFT projects. So IP, it kind of like applies the same traditional way. So a lot of these projects, these NFT projects, they'll either have like derivatives, and then they'll just like copy the whole entire project. Let's say like an ETH project comes out, and then all of a sudden you see the same exact project, but excuse my French, like a shittier version on Solana. So that's an IP issue. Some projects, a lot of NFT people don't care if your project gets duplicated. If anything, they're like, oh, it's like more hype. But other people do care, and that's lost revenue that your project could have made, and then you have all these purchasers going and buying the wrong project. And now that Solana is becoming more popular, the opposite's happening, where they are, like, for example, I have a Solana client who launched a project, and they have like a copycat now on ETH. So it can happen either way, which is why IP is important to like trademark, copyright, and all that stuff prior to launching your project.
No, definitely. And then that's the more centralized area that I was talking about. Some of the things that you're doing in the space, there's already rules and regulations for it, even though it doesn't necessarily apply at the moment. If you cater those regulations to what you're doing, that's how you protect yourself. Because nobody's concerned about a copycat until you're the next Bored Ape. All of a sudden, you care now. All of a sudden, your IP is important now. And now everybody that just owns the IP, because everybody says the same thing, oh, you buy this, you now own the IP, you can do it. That's not how none of this works. None of this works like that. And if they did, and now they own the IP and it's similar to yours, and say they go through the proper trademark, the proper copyright, and then they come for you. But the thing is, they actually trademarked it. Now, you might be fine in your state, because I know with some, I'm not as versed, but with some trademark law, if you was in a certain state before other people, if they federally trademark it, then you are somewhat protected in your state. However, you've lost all the revenue and all the IP for everywhere else.
Yeah, well, trademark law is federal. However, you can trademark once it's accomplished or approved in the federal level, then you can, like you said, go by state and file. I guess they're like smaller applications to just put everyone on notice.
Yeah, and you can use the Berne Convention to apply your trademark internationally as well. It's a relatively long process, but it's one of the things that I think is fascinating about trademark law is that the trademarks exist not because you filed with the government, but because you started using the trademark in public, in commerce. So the minute you start using a trademark like Bored Ape, in public and making money with it, it's your trademark. And the filing actually gives you standing to sue in federal court. So it's a fascinating area of law. And the other interesting thing I find in the NFT space is that not much attention was paid to associating the intellectual property with the NFT itself. So you have NFTs that are being traded, and the intellectual property isn't even owned Like the NFT is just code that's being traded, and everyone thinks that it's only representative. It isn't actually the intellectual property that is trading underneath it.
Which makes you think, for all y'all that own NFTs right now, what do you actually own, if anything?
Well, that's where terms and condition comes in for NFT projects, which is another important thing that I help my clients draft. You're supposed to put them on your website of your NFT project or on the OpenSea, if that's the marketplace that you're using, or Magic Eden, etc. And those are important because they limit your liability. They say what IP rights, if any, that the project is going to give you if you purchase this NFT. Sometimes projects will give you no IP rights, and then other projects will give, like Bored Apes gives the purchasers full IP rights, so you can like commercialize off of it if you own the Bored Ape. So yeah, the terms and conditions of a project are really important.
And the thing I think is really important to say is just congratulations, because this NFT technology is going to change the world. And you are at the forefront of it. You have really pushed it out and made it something that people all over the country and all over the world are talking about now. But as a technology, it can be applied to anything from the title of a car or a house to any other thing that is a unique asset. And it's going to revolutionize the way things work. Like if you consider the friction involved with selling a condo, if the condo is reflected as an NFT, immutable, transparent, instead of having to pay for title insurance and go look at the public records to see if there was any problem with anyone who owned it before, all of that gets wiped off the table, and it's going to be huge for commerce.
In closing, build your own regulations so you can do what you want. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you so much.